Welcome to the Bridge Church Midweek podcast. We exist to connect people with others and God. We hope this week's episode helps you do just that. Enjoy.
All right, and welcome to the Bridge Church Midweek podcast. This is Pastor Tyler Wolf. I'm associate pastor here at BC, as well as the pastor at our Oconomowoc campus. And on this week's episode, we got Mike Ritt.
That is correct.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. I'm an attendee of the church,
Yes.
for the record.
Well, tell us a little bit more. Tell us about just who you are, maybe as much as you want, about your family.
Okay.
And how long you've been coming to Bridge Church. Where do you guys serve? What ministries is your church involved with? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my middle name is Dennis, for those of you who don't know. So Michael Dennis Ritt.
That was my second question.
Yeah. So now you really know the ins and outs of who I am.
MD?
Yeah, MDR, Mr. Well, I'll just keep going. So, we've been coming to Bridge Church. We actually started the last week of Waukesha First Assembly. I had a friend years ago when I went to another church. I won't name it, yeah. But he said, "Hey, you should check out Waukesha First Assembly." And I said, I don't know. And things changed, and we came the last week, and it was like a 5-minute sermon. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But the worship was so good, and my wife is involved in worship music.
Why was the sermon so short that day?
Because it was the last week of Waukesha First Assembly, and there was like a party and a name change, and It was all about Bridge.
Sure. So those who maybe are listening that are new to Bridge Church, we used to be called Waukesha First Assembly, yes. And God put a vision in Pastor Todd's heart to plant more locations, which you can't be Waukesha First Assembly of Oconomowoc, where we eventually ended up.
Waukesha First Second Assembly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you started coming right before we changed
the last possible week. And,
right.
We fell in love right away, but it was like, I was like, Krista, my wife, Krista. I was like, I don't know, 5-minute sermon. I mean, that, if there's football, maybe it's a great week for that. But, so we came back the next week, and, we haven't left. We've stayed. We didn't check anything else out. We've kind of fallen in love with the people. We've fallen in love with the ministry. We've got 4 kids, which it's so important to have something my kids can plug into.
Awesome kids.
Because I can feed myself, but I need a community for my children.
Yeah.
I need community for myself as well.
Sure.
But I have a responsibility to those children. So we've been coming for 4 years now. Krista's involved in worship, off and on, depending on things, how they're going in our life. I went through the Radical Mentoring Program, which was awesome. And then I help out with the youth group. I've done a little kids ministry, which is very exciting. And we're just happy to be here. You want to know about me?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want to share.
So my testimony, my life, it's not exciting, but it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I grew up I guess I should start with my parents. My parents were kind of boneheads when they were younger. They both kind of did their own thing, marched to their own drum. My mom was from West Virginia, and she had migrated up to Illinois. My dad was 16 and emancipated from his family, moved out, lived in his own place, and met my mom. And a few years later, I showed up. 18 years old. My parents were kind of in and out. They were new Christians, but they were just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I was born. They got married about a year later. We moved around for my dad's job, and they became good Christians, and they really changed their lives around. And the result of my dad becoming a Christian and my mom as well is that there's been a lot of dominoes in our family that have fallen in a positive way from that. And the first, maybe not the first, but the first I'm aware of was me. We were praying. I was 3 years old. You kind of know, but you're 3. You're figuring out, what words to use and everything. But we'd pray every night at the dinner table. So I'm praying, and I'm praying for my grandparents to get saved, my grandpa to quit smoking. I'm praying for everything I can think of. You're just going through this list. And I said, Dad, I'm praying for Grandpa to get saved and Grandma to get saved, but what about me? So I gave my heart to the Lord that day.
Wow.
So obviously I don't remember doing that, but I grew up in the church, and I grew up knowing that Jesus died for my sins, which is an awesome thing. But when you grow up in the church and you hear that your whole life, it's something that's a given.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really mean what it means to people who, I think Jesus talks about, though him who has much to gain, he really appreciates the sacrifice more and appreciates what God has done for them more than the person who has less to be forgiven.
Yeah.
And obviously I have tons to be forgiven, but my pain wasn't what other people's were. There wasn't a radical shift in my life. It was growing up in the church. But growing up in the church presents its own set of pitfalls and things that can really get in your way and ways you think.
Yeah.
You grew up really comparing yourself to other Christians and your friends and even non-Christians. And you just don't appreciate what you have like other people do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the fact that you're acknowledging that and that there's a difference between the upbringing that you had and someone who maybe found Jesus or Jesus found them later in life, I think just knowing that there's a difference and knowing that you're, at the end of the day, your need for Christ is the same is the biggest hurdle. That's the most important part.
It is. And you live this life where you're not comparing yourself to Jesus, you're comparing yourself to other people. And it took a while, to be honest, which I try to always be honest, but it took a while for me to figure that out, because I spent many of my teen years in public school thinking, well, at least I'm not.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of, I was the guy at school that I had friends, but hey, he doesn't swear. And I thought, oh, hey, I don't swear. That's a good guy.
Sure.
I'm not messing around with all the girls in town. That's a good guy. So I kind of, we moved from Michigan to Wisconsin, back to Michigan, and then to Wisconsin again.
What part of Michigan?
We lived right outside. Well, the first time we lived in Pontiac Trail, and my brother was born in Novi, and then we moved to Livonia, Michigan, which is like, for those of you who don't know Michigan, it's like the Brookfield of Detroit. Okay. So we lived on 7 Mile in Merriman, and everyone's like, 7 Mile Road, They think this is some horrible neighborhood. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
7 Mile goes forever. It's like North Avenue kind of.
Oh,
it
sure.
goes forever. So I grew up going to youth group, giving my heart to the Lord 800 times in church, because I was like, am I saved? I sinned this week. I had this guilt and this, the same thing I think most teenagers maybe go through. So we moved back here, and it's hard when everyone's telling you you're a good kid. You're in school, you're the good kid.
Yeah.
You're voted most likely to be a priest, even though you're not Catholic.
Yeah.
Did
that happen?
Yeah, I was voted most likly to become a priest. I was like, hey, I got a girlfriend already. It's not happening. It's not happening. Who I did marry. Krista, I met when we were 16.
Oh, cool.
But you go through that, and I'm dating Krista. I'm trying to do my best to be a good Christian. Next thing you know, one thing leads to the next, and we're engaged, and Krista's pregnant. Mm-hmm. So we're supposed to get married in 2001. We're supposed to get married. Suddenly, we had a change of plans. We moved the wedding up, and it was really a rough time. And I felt like, I've got to just lay my life down and do what's necessary. And God was not happy with that situation, but God really did something in my life to where he provided for us. And Krista got married. We're celebrating 20 years next week. And what a blessing that's been for me, but what a humbling situation, especially growing up in the church. It may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but to me, it was a world changer.
For sure. That's the thing when you grow up in the church and you're told that sort of thing is shame. I think is one of the most useful tools of the enemy.
Oh yeah.
But when you can get past one of the most useful tools of the enemy is by an understanding and an experience with grace, I think it builds your faith so much, and I see that in you.
It does. Well, my dad, when we told Krista's father first, and it was a rough night. I mean,
did he beat you up?
He's a good Christian guy. No, he didn't. He didn't beat me up, but it wasn't fun. telling your 19-year-old fiance's dad that she's pregnant is not a fun experience for most men, especially in a very conservative house, which we both came from. Then I went and I went to go tell my parents, and I said, Dad, I need to talk to you. It's really important. And he says, well, are you going to name the baby after me?
Wow.
I had a girl, so we didn't. But he said, Mike, I'm not proud of the decision that you made or the mistake you made, but the baby's not a mistake.
Yeah.
And God's going to do something good from this. So you repent of the sin, and God can make the most out of a horrible situation, which, your whole life, the hardest things that happen to you, God can turn them into a great thing. Now, sure. When I was younger, I thought I need to make a testimony. I don't need to make a testimony. God's sure. my testimony.
Yeah.
So then, life happens. You start working, and you get, you kind of go in waves in life, where you're high, and then you get in. I went into like a work mode, and I thought I need to provide for my family, which is accurate. I do, but the devil is able to take a thing like providing and the pride of a man, and he's able to plant seeds that will destroy your family. So your intentions are great, but your heart gets carried away, and you don't put God first, and you don't put your family first. So I got to a point, I got a job at AT&T. It was going great. I worked there for 11 years, but I was working way too many hours. I was married to work, and I identified with work, which is a sin.
Sure.
And because I was like, I'm Mike, I'm AT&T.
Yeah.
So I got the job going. Everything was going great. Krista was dying on the inside because I wasn't seeing her, and she was praying that God would find me a different job. So one day I went into work. It's a retail store I'm managing, and there's nobody. Everyone called in sick. It's just me and the assistant manager. And I took my peppy attitude and I said, hey, we're going to have a great day today. It's going to be awesome. In walks the district manager. Mike, I need to talk to you. Can't talk to you. Everyone called in. We're going to have a great day, though. So I need to talk to you. And they let me go. It was my last day of work. So my whole world was shattered.
Wow.
But again, these are the times where God can take a horrible situation, because it felt like death. Like I didn't want to go home and tell my wife. I thought, these thoughts go through your head, like maybe I can just pretend I still work.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll tell her in a week,
Yeah.
But I did. I went home, I told her, I pulled my hoodie over my head and sat on the couch and felt bad for myself. But Krista told me she prayed for me, and I was like, well, thanks for praying me out of a job.
Right.
But God was able to kind of say, Mike, your focus is wrong.
Wow.
Your focus is not on me, and it's not on your family. And it needs to be in that order. My job is important. Providing is important. But if I put that above God, and even if I don't put it above God, but I put it above my family, that's wrong. And I was doing that.
Yeah.
So God provided, we went 10 months. Krista lost her job a few months later. So we were without a job for 10 months. But I wouldn't trade that time, because God was able to kind of reshape me and make me a better person. I am not a finished product, but it definitely pointed me in the right direction. So, fast forward 2016, we started coming here, and, things still are rough, but they're perfect. This whole COVID thing that's going on, I understand it's a big deal, but you know what? Worst case scenario, I get this stuff and I die and I go to heaven. I'm just not concerned with the things.
Sure.
The Bible says no weapon formed against me will prosper. And all this fleshly malarkey, to steal a term from a politician, it's of no use to me, because God is bigger than it. I'm not challenging you, God. I do not want you to destroy my life and humble me more. Yeah. But I firmly believe that, God is bigger, and the things of this earth are, money doesn't matter. It's easy to say, I need it. I need some. But God, the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day our daily bread. So I know God will provide my daily bread.
The story about you losing your job at AT&T after work had become, like an idol.
I poured my heart and soul into it.
There's nothing quite like the painful, bloody process of an idol being torn down.
Oh, it's horrible.
Because Jesus just won't share his throne.
And you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
Yeah. But it'll do, that's the grace of God if you let it work. Because God's polite. Like, he's powerful and he's mighty, but he's polite, and he'll work in the ways that we allow him to in those painful situations.
Well, my marriage is 100 times better than it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just working, and it's a justifiable thing in your head. That's the thing, that the devil, he is the king of rationalizing your actions. Like, if you read the Screw Tape Letters or some of these situations, he's at work doing the same tricks to the next guy and to you.
Yeah.
Over and over, and we rationalize our situations, and sometimes it's a justifiable rationale that, I say justifiable, but I think you understand what I'm saying. The motive is good, but it's wrong.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's like idols aren't always going to be drugs and alcohol or prostitutes or these big classic bad things. Good things become bad things when they become the object of our worship. Yeah,
I think of I remember as a kid, the rich young ruler that came to Jesus and said, "Hey, what do I have to do and he said, "Follow the commandments." He says, "I've kept them all." He goes, "Well, then go sell all your items and follow me." And he wept and left. And I thought, what an idiot. Mm-hmm. This guy's a bonehead. This is the Son of God, Jesus Christ, in the flesh, and you're not going to follow him? Yeah. But as I got older, I realized, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I am that rich young ruler, because anything that I hold, even though I'm not rich, but anything I hold, whether it's a TV show or it's quality time or I don't want to help someone move and God's calling me to help them, that's the rich young ruler in me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, I totally hear you, man. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story, man. It's awesome. Anything you want to share as we close? Hey,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate what everyone's doing at the church and the community that we experience. It's a blessing. So thank you.
Thanks, man.